Okay, good morning and welcome to Pythagorean Theorem Part 2 lesson. If you have me for class, you're going to look at the last page of your note packet in the last section, which says Lesson 7-2, Pythagorean Theorem Part 2. Okay, so the last thing we're going to focus on is story problems for Pythagorean Theorem. And I have 3 examples, and I've already drawn in some pictures, which you can pause the video and do as well. Okay, so first example says you have a 12-foot ladder that you placed against the wall of your house. You do not have to be an artist to draw what looks like a 12-foot ladder against a wall. The wall has to be standing up, and it's not going to be out there in space. Make sure you draw the ground. If you put the bottom of the ladder 4 feet from the wall, so let's mark that, approximately how far up the wall does the ladder reach? Okay, so you've got this picture, and it does form a right triangle because the wall and the ground of any sort of house is going to make a 90-degree angle right here. So the question is, how far up does it reach? So this is our X, or our question mark, that we're trying to figure out. Now, since this is a 90-degree angle and we're missing a length, we know it's Pythagorean theorem. So we're going to use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And we have to label all the way around our triangle. So in this case, the longest side and the side against across from the 90-degree angle is 12. So we know that one is C. And then we look at these other 2 sides, and those are A and B. And you can do A here and B here, or you can switch it around. So what we're going to do is plug them in. So A squared will leave A squared. B squared we're going to make 4 squared. And C squared we will make 12 squared. Okay, and so now what we're going to do is use our brain or use our calculator. Don't forget that 4 squared is really 4 times 4, or 4 caret 2. So a squared we're going to leave. 4 times 4 is 16. And then 12 times 12 is 144. And then we have to make a decision. What are we going to do to solve for this? Are we going to add these 2 numbers together, or do we have to cancel and subtract? Well, since we're finding A in this case, we're going to cancel and subtract. So we're going to cancel here and cancel over here. And we're going to get A squared, and I ran out of space, but we'll do it over here, equals 144 minus 16 in this case. And you can use the calculator if you're unsure, but equals 128. And then don't forget, that's not the answer, the final answer. We have to undo the squared sign by taking the square root. So A is actually the square root of 128. And so on your calculators, you got to look for the square root button. If you are using the blue calculators that I have in my class, that square root button, don't forget, is above the 8 and the parentheses. So I'll show you here. Looks like this, square root button, and mine brings up a parenthesis. So type in 128, and your parenthesis, press equal, and we want to round to the nearest tenth, and so A is about 11.3 is our answer there. All right, good. Let's do it again. So another example is about a baseball diamond. So I have drawn it in. Says a baseball diamond is 90 feet from base to base. So I labeled our 90 from first to second. If a runner is trying to steal second base, what is the approximate distance a catcher needs to throw the ball to get to the second baseman? So if you don't know much about baseball, the catcher stands right here behind home plate, and they're going to throw someone out over here at second base. So their throw is going to go across like this, okay? So the question is, how far is that? That's our question mark. Now, what is this going to be right here? Well, it says from base to base. They are all 90, so we can label this 90 as well. And this is a 90-degree angle, so we know that we can use Pythagorean theorem again. So start with a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And then let's label. So Across from our 90-degree angle is C, so that we're trying to find C this time. A and B are equivalent this time, and that's okay. So we're going to substitute this stuff in. So A squared is 90 squared. B squared is also 90 squared, and C squared is what we're trying to figure out. So 90 squared, and maybe I should show you it in the calculator in case you were wondering here, so I'll do that. So 90 squared, you can either do 90 times 90, or most calculators have this caret key on it. So you can do 90 caret 2. That's the other way you could do that. So that's 8,100. So 8,100 plus 8,100 equals C squared. Okay, now in this case, since we're trying to find C and these are both on the same side of the equal sign, we do not cancel them out, we add them together. So 8,100 plus 8,100, I'm going to do mine up over here because I ran out of space, is 16,200 equals C squared. And just like the last one, don't forget, we don't really want C squared, we want C. So to undo C squared, we will take the square root. So square root of 16,200. And again, in your calculator, to do that, and even if you're not using my blue calculator, you're looking for this symbol right here. Square root sign, 16,200. For me, you want to end that parenthesis, and you want to round to the nearest tenth. We're about 127.3 feet here. And that's our answer. Oh, and I should have put feet on my answer above. Sorry about that. So I want to make sure we are labeling our units. Okay, last but not least for our examples for story problems is this. So television screens are measured along a diagonal. If you buy a 42-inch screen that measures 28 inches tall, approximately how wide is the screen? So I labeled the 28. So television screens are measured along the diagonal. If you have a 42-inch screen, that means from the corner to corner is your 42 inches. And so how wide is the screen? That's our question mark. Okay, you know that televisions, they are not slanted, so what you want to do is make sure that that's a 90-degree angle. And you know that across from that is our C. So we know we're going to use A squared plus B squared equals C squared again. And we're going to label A and B. So I'm going to make 28A and my question mark B. Now I can flip-flop those and I'll get the same answer as long as I do the math right. Okay, so A squared would be 28 squared. B squared we don't know. And C squared is 42 squared. Okay, so in your calculator, if you don't know what 28 squared is, or 28 times 28, make sure you type that in. It is 784 plus B squared. Again, 42 squared, or 42 times 42, type that in, and you get 1,764. This one, they are on opposite sides of the equal sign, and we're trying to find B. So we are going to cancel or subtract the 784 here, subtract it over here, and then we get 980. So B squared equals 980. And again, we want to make sure we do that last step by undoing that squared sign, which I'll do over here. So B is the square root of 980. And make sure you type that in your calculator. And you can get a big decimal, but we're going to round it to about 31.3 inches. All right, so that's our final answer. So when you buy a 42-inch television, your width of that is actually only going to be about 31.3 inches here. Okay, good deal. So that is our lesson for our last lesson for Pythagorean Theorem today. If you have me for class, the homework looks like this. It says Pythagorean Theorem word problems on the top. So what you want to do is follow the instructions, draw a picture, and then use the Pythagorean theorem for each question to solve them. There's 4 on the front, and there is another 5 on the back, giving you a total of 9 questions. Okay, so if you have any problems, any questions, make sure that you email me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you. Have a great day.